Jeez Louise. So I was just actually upstairs working in my office, and the noise and chaos coming from our neighbors next door is like extreme today. You see, for the last couple of weeks, they've been doing a major construction project over in my neighbor's field, and it's just been getting crazier and crazier. And I feel like today is about high time I go over there and check it out. I mean, would you look at all this? Like, I mean, there's a lot of equipment and stuff that they have over here. I don't know if you can hear that way over there. A lot of activity. Not exactly sure what to make of it all. Just so you have a sense of geography, our farm is right over there. And this field that's right behind me is my neighbor's field. You can see how it's sort of like right in front of our fields right over there. Here in the middle of nowhere, Peacham, Vermont, in the dead of March, we have some serious construction and building going on here. Let's walk over there and see what's going on. I mean, they're building something over here. Like you can see brackets over there, brackets over here. They got stuff all flagged throughout here. And it's a long stretch that this thing's gonna be. So it starts down right over there where our barn starts. We're about parallel with where our barn ends right now, and we're only at the halfway point up this hill. Like I said, this is some serious construction. What's going on here? Well, they did it. They went and built a gigantic solar field right in the backyard of my farm. And quite honestly, I couldn't be any happier about it. You see, because this is where the power and energy for my farm for the future is going to be coming from. And just again, to show you how this is quite literally, yes, in my backyard. Our farm is right over there. So see where those trees are? That is like the property line between my farm and my neighbor's field. And then this solar field is right here. And so I don't know, let me do a measurement. I'll tell you exactly how far that is. So that's roughly 350 feet from my farm is this solar field. And so as far as local energy goes, it makes perfect sense that this is where I'm going to get my power from. About 2 years ago, I started to do some investigating on where do I think about sourcing my electricity from? Do I make some investments in solar panels myself and actually use our farmland and put in a solar array, much like the one that you see here? I even made a video and explored the idea of doing agrovoltaics, which is when you're pairing grazing animals with solar fields. And when I did all of that research, what I found is, number one, it would be very difficult to do something like that with cattle, because when you see like a solar field like this, the cattle would beat the living heck out of the panels. They'd be rubbing against them, they'd be hitting them with their horns, they would do a lot of damage. But if I wanted to raise the panels up and make something that was sturdy enough to withstand the cattle, it would make the price of installation way too high for it ever to make much economic sense. And by that point, as I was doing my research, my neighbor Frank and his partner Patrice, they were actually beginning the process of getting a co-op going. And you might be asking yourself, co-op, what is that? Please allow me to explain. Well, a co-op or cooperative is a corporation that is built amongst its members, and those members help in the running as well as reaping the benefits of that corporation. You know, for years here in Vermont, dairy cooperatives were a massive thing, and they were very much how the dairy industry thrived in the 20th century. Cooperatives have also had a very rich history when it comes to grocery stores here in Vermont. In fact, it's at cooperatives where I do most of my grocery shopping. But the idea of forming a co-op to generate your electricity is kind of a unique thing, but it's starting to catch hold around the United States. Co-op, co-op, cooperation. So this right here is my neighbor Frank.
Howdy.
How long have you lived here in Peacham?
I was born in Peacham in 1953, 70 years.
Dang. Here's actually some trivia for folks. You guys know my buddy Alfred? Frank is actually Alfred's uncle. My buddy Alfred's Uncle Frank. He lives right next door to me.
Yeah, can't pick your relatives, you know.
So Frank, how did you guys end up deciding to put this solar co-op in here in this gigantic installation?
Well, it was kind of a long, drawn-out process, but I worked in the oil and gas industry basically for about 40 years, and I thought the work was valuable and I enjoyed it. Time has gone forward. I think everybody's aware of the changes in the climate, and I'm convinced that we as a nation and as a world have to do something about that. So I wanted to put solar on my home and use that to power an electric vehicle and whatever other electric devices would be added to the list. I was talking to one of the members of the Peacham Energy Committee, mentioned that I actually wouldn't mind having an array out on my field, and he became very enthusiastic, and we did the preliminary work. And there's so many advantages to this site in that the angle that the array can be mounted without having to take up the whole field. Basically, right along the north side of the field, we can have almost a perfect angle to the sun. And so that's what we've done. Taken about a half acre out of the 5.5 acres that are in this field. There was a fairly lengthy process of permissions and a process of getting people signed up for this project. Not everybody can put solar in their backyard. Not everybody is an owner of a property. There's renters. And essentially, because we're connected with Green Mountain Power, anybody that is a member of the Green Mountain Power can sign on to this array.
I was in sort of a similar place where I was like thinking about, oh, I could put some panels up, I could do it on the upper pasture, we're building the new barn, maybe we put it on the roof of the barn. But like one of the things I looked at is, and like you can even see it right here, right? All this infrastructure that's required to build something like this would be something I would have to do and you would have to do. And when you think about the cost of that, it actually makes an installation like this not be about the panels and the amount that you're generating, but about how you're actually building the infrastructure to do it. And so for me, I saw like one of those values of like, wow, if we work together, we can actually defray a lot of that fixed cost.
That's right. In the long term, you're not done with it. When you put it on the roof of your house, you have to take care of the maintenance and the upkeep of the system and deal with whatever failures might occur, whereas this is managed by the shareholders, and they have the responsibility of taking care of it should there be any kind of a failure or problem. People have talked to me some about what do you do with the waste materials from the used up solar panels and things like that. This array initially is expected to last for 25 years, and there's an option for an additional 15 years beyond that. So 40 years from now, hopefully this will still be putting out power. I'm not saying the problem doesn't exist, and we are maybe kicking the can down the road a little bit there, but who knows what the technology and what the world needs in 40 years.
When I'm doing planning for the farm right now, right? Like the infrastructure I'm building, I'm doing where I'm saying, hey, I want this to work for 25 years. And then to your point, like you don't know what the next 25 years, then the next 25 years. And so like that you can be adaptable in a way that like, do you upgrade the panels 25 years from now or 40 years from now? That becomes the question for the future shareholders of the cooperative. I hope 40 years from now I'm still a shareholder of the cooperative.
The fact that you don't have to deal with the day-to-day maintenance and operation of the system was a really important factor when we looked at the process. I really like the idea. I've got a neighbor who's a renter and they can buy a share. There's a lot of discussion about global warming and the causes and all that, but I think it's becoming around to a pretty universal recognition that the earth is warming and there's a lot of major trouble. Just talk to the Canadians who are burning up, or Maui.
I mean, even the flooding we've had here, where in terms of climate volatility and what's happened.
Exactly. We had a pretty wet summer. You know, why'd that happen? The celebration at this very moment is that the array is now on and active.
It was like today, right? Like today, like at least as we're recording, it's the day that it all went live.
It's on now, and we can start enjoying the benefits of it.
So you want to give me the tour?
As you look up through the array here, the one critical piece is that you don't block the sun. So the spacing between these is carefully calculated so that the back array doesn't get blocked by the front array. If you look at the arrays, they're designed to offload the snow effectively through the winter months. You'll notice that there are gaps between the panels and generates a fair amount of warmth. So the snow is going to have a natural melt. If you look at the panel on the south side of the array, these are inverters that convert the electricity that's being generated by the array into power. It's a double high set of panels.
So now what's going to go in between the two solar panels here?
So there's a company called Be the Change, and that's BEE, the Change, and they have a mission to put an acre of pollinator plants in every town in the state of Vermont. Well, this will be the pollinator plant array for Peacham. I know Morgan has beehives right across the fence over here.
They're going to be really grateful for those. So yes, there's quite literally a solar field that has been developed in my backyard, and I couldn't be any happier about it. And I really appreciate all the efforts of my neighbor Frank and other folks here in the town of Peacham. And I think it's a really good thing for our community, and I think it's a really good thing for our farm. You know, one of the great debates that's happening here in Vermont is there's a lot of discussion about how do we preserve our agricultural heritage, and how do we preserve our agricultural landscape and keep it from just becoming vacation homes for folks. And part of that is you got to think about how you make a working landscape and an agricultural landscape work differently for the 21st century versus being stuck in the 19th or 20th centuries, which I think so much of people's mindset and like mental model is anchored in what things of the past look like. And yes, putting a solar field in our backyard looks different, and it's not what the traditional look would have dictated, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. It generates energy for our farm, it generates energy from several of our neighbors' houses and homes, and it also generates electricity for a couple of local businesses. And so in a relatively small parcel of land, my neighbor Frank is able to preserve a whole heck of a lot of green space and open space and pasture, but then also generate electricity for a lot of folks who need electricity. And the truth of the matter is, with the rise of things like electric vehicles and heat pumps and the like, the demand for electricity in our country is only going to increase. And so finding unique ways to build solar installations is going to be really, really important. And so yes, I am very appreciative to have that solar field in our backyard.